Scribble Talks, episode 10. I'm here with my guest, Deno Ellis. He's based in Columbus, Ohio. Deno, welcome, and how are you?
I'm good, good. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you for taking the time.
No problem.
My first question for you
Mhm.
is, how did you get into industrial design and illustration?
Oh man, wow, that's real like throwback, man. It goes way back. So um, I'm originally from the Caribbean, hailing from Jamaica, and a lot of our culture, like you have no choice but to be creative and engage creatively in just life the way you live, so on and so forth. But part of that journey as a kid, there was a television show that I really loved watching. Well, a couple. The man was MacGyver was the main one, and then Knight Rider, A-Team, all of that good stuff, right? No, but MacGyver was crazy because I really enjoyed watching his creativity. Problem solving skills was huge, and just it was a little mix of crafty but kind of engineering and just like blow your mind kind of thing, right? So from a child, I was very curious about tearing stuff down, and I would get remote control toys and versus like driving it back and forth, like over and over. I would play with it for a little bit, and then I'd actually pull it apart, take the batteries out, the motors, whatever, mess with the wires. So that was kind of the first exposure, again, kind of going back to origin stories, right? But the illustration side came up because I enjoyed watching Bart Simpson and the Ninja Turtles. So the Simpsons, the Turtles. So I used to do my own illustrations, and I would watch the TV, watch the cartoons or whatever animations, and then I would create my own storyboards and comics, and I would resell those. Right. So I
Oh,
was
nice.
trying to do a little bit of business. You're talking like 8, 9, 10 years old, right? So long and short, I took that kind of creative DNA and explored it in high school a little bit, doing traditional painting, drawing, some kind of fabrication as well. And then in college, I got an opportunity to study in the States at the University of Georgia, and had no idea what I was supposed to do. Like most college students, your freshman years, it's kind of a guess, right? So went in, and I had every like the goal was really to be a graphic designer,
Mhm.
and I went in, had the mindset for it, had the passion for it, but that just didn't materialize. I mean, in my junior year, I got exposed to digital media, and that really helped to shape my career because it was more than just 2D graphics or packaging, but it was video editing, it was capture and editing, it was a little bit of graphic design, it was flash animations at the time. It's not like now with Premiere and all of that stuff. It was Flash and Dreamweaver, and I got to explore a lot of those earlier Adobe products. But then part of that course as well was building. And I had no idea about industrial design until one of my faculty, I think he was the chair of our department at the time, said to me, "Hey man, you ever heard of industrial design? And hey, here's what they do." And I kid you not, as soon as he said that, of course, my guy just like popped up in my head. I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember this dude, man. Watch the show. MacGyver did all this cool stuff and absolute, creative, but still had a little bit of a engineering kind of thought process behind it." And from that point on, I just kind of latched on to it and decided to one incorporate some of the illustration skills that I developed over the years, and it's still a process, man. It's still going, and I took that into a industrial design master's program, which just allowed me to just dig a little bit deeper into what product design / industrial design is. And I'm here today.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there one that you feel is easier for you, whether it's illustration or industrial, or is there a preference there?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's great because I'm able to use illustration in the ID process, right? So in industrial design, it's more than just dropping a project or in CAD, or dropping an idea in CAD or computer rendering and building that out. You have to start out with an ideation process, right? You have to do a number of iterations, and part of that is where you really get to pull or dig into your illustrative skills. So you're able to tell stories, you're able to brainstorm ideas, you're able to showcase ideas two-dimensionally, three-dimensionally, but still on paper or digital as well. So I actually, as much as my Instagram doesn't represent that as much, I do a lot of digital sketching and digital work as well. But again, it is great because I'm able to marry illustration with the traditional ID work. Now, sometimes the illustration work, especially what you guys see on Instagram, it's really conceptual. It's not like it could be, but it's not like a, you know, product that's going to hit the market. Or it's a lot of it is more about storytelling for me, and about sometimes on the surface you see a sketch or you see an illustration, but there's actually a deeper meaning behind it. So there's some that it has to do with current affairs. There's some that has that kind of goes along with my journey or life story, or the journey of maybe others that I'm exposed to or interact with. So there's a lot of kind of inspiration pumped into that.
Right, and that's what drew me to your page, and like going through, just seeing those sketches and the futuristic type concepts, and I see a lot of motion in those designs as well, a lot of movement, and I'm like, yo, I really dig this. Hopefully one day I can talk to you about it. But your career is very extensive. I mean, you've done a lot so far. There's a
Mm-hmm.
couple of things that I wanted to touch on. I
Sure.
know that you designed footwear alternatives for children. I kind of want to get a little bit of background on that. How was that experience for you? And what did you kind of gain from being able to participate in something like that?
So this was actually a really special project for prosthetics, and so where we're currently, we get to support the community just with different ventures. So if it's supporting, prosthetic development and design, sometimes we kind of dive in and support that effort from the kind of a charity perspective, right? And what that project was about, we had a young man who was, I believe he was maybe 10, and his feet weren't symmetrical in terms of just the form and so on. And we had to come up with an idea for him to pretty much fit, I believe it was his right foot in track shoes, right,
Mm.
or sneakers. Now, it really resonated with me because, I mean, this was just a real active young man, wasn't put down by the fact that, hey, I have kind of a special ligament or deformation or whatever, but just the energy that he was bringing, and the fact that, oh man, I know I can get a pair of shoes or sneakers that, even though my right foot or my left foot is different from the other, what can we do? So the challenge was really to deconstruct deconstruct the traditional kind of mold or last for a pair of sneakers, and retrofit that to his needs, right? So we had to pump in some design as it regarded like making it be wide, or letting it have a different kind of geometry for his arch support, or what would the grid be like in terms of flexibility for entrance and exit into that shoe, or that foot of shoe, like shoes, like what would that look like? So it was great, one, to give back to the community, and then two, to see the smile on his face when that was mocked up and he tried it, ran around the block for a little bit. And for me, that meant a lot, because it's not just the energy that you put into design, but it's the result of whatever that design is, right? I think you're able to create meaning, but then you're able to create some good memories with that, right? So for me, that project was awesome. The meaning that was given to it, the meaning behind it, and then the memories that were created. Yeah.
Oh, I love that, man. I really do. I really do.
Appreciate it.
That everlasting impact
Yeah.
is dope.
Yeah.
It's dope. And I know that you were also a professor at the Columbus College of Art and Design.
Oh man, you did your homework, yeah?
Yeah, you taught there for, I think, was it just over 10 years, or?
No, it wasn't as much as that. So I taught full-time for about 5 years now. I did do some adjunct teaching before that. So in Savannah, Georgia, at SCAD, I was a teaching assistant there as well. And then when we moved to Columbus, my family and I, we just made some good connections and got in as an adjunct and in industrial design, in their industrial design department, and then applied for a full-time position as a assistant professor, assistant faculty, and taught for, like I said, around 5 years, which was just a really, really great experience, good learning. But I guess I don't know if there's a specific question you have around that. I can tell you more, but let me let you drive that conversation. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I do have a specific question. And the reason why I asked that is, so it's different when you spend all this time being just the artist and the creator yourself, creating for yourself. And then you go into this environment or community where you're teaching hundreds, thousands, depending on the class size.
Right.
How was that experience for you? I'm sure that it had to change you as a designer. You probably learned important lessons about yourself, and maybe even just educating youth or students as a whole.
Right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you really learn a lot about yourself. You learn that more and more that life is really about an exchange, right? It's not just about you imparting knowledge, but there's also knowledge coming back, right? There is a learning curve every day, not in just creating curriculum, or not just in creating different classes for a specific program, but what your students come back to you with, right? Like, they keep you on point, man. They keep you in check, right? No joke. So you have to be able to stay updated on software, on trends that are happening. More than anything else, you have to be able to engage with what their needs are. I mean, each student is different in terms of how they receive material, how they engage with that material, and then what they do with it, right? Because it's more than just imparting knowledge, but it's helping them to take that knowledge to help to form and shape their careers and their goals and aspirations as well. And I think another good part of that too is learning from other faculty, seeing how they run their classes, or seeing the kind of content that they get to kind of share and give to students, and just really understanding collaboration from the academic lens, right? And part of that too is there's an academic lens, but of course, coming in with a design background, you're almost expected to help to mold these students into the future professionals, future designers, right? So there's also kind of a mentor kind of cloak or cape that you're responsible for, right? Like you have to like, how do I wear that? Like, am I sharing the right information, right? Am I
Right.
like pointing them in the right direction? So, but all in all, like I said, man, it was just a real great exchange, great opportunity to mentor and also to be mentored. And I still, to this day, keep in contact with students. Actually, right after this, I have to connect with a student as well. And for me, it's great because, like I said, they keep you in check. They
Right.
let you know what time it is, what's going on, what's not. And more than anything else, you get to share a little bit of what you know to help them grow as well.
Right. Excellent. Excellent, man. So another follow-up question is to that. What's one thing, like one lesson you learned from your time at teaching that you wouldn't mind sharing with us?
Sure, sure. You know, we all have just journeys, man, and we all have different directions that we go, and we fail a lot and all of that good stuff. But for me, I enjoy hearing students talk about those times when, oh man, something didn't work, and all of a sudden something clicked, right? And my perspective on that is failure is just great for that learning curve, right? For anybody's learning curve. And at those times when you hit that rocky path, and you can either step up, you can either use that as a stepping stone or a stumbling block, right? So, you know, you can step up, rise above it, use the failure to kind of inform the next steps that you'll make, or you can fall flat on the ground, right? And for me, uh, the lesson there is you have to be proactive. Be, you have to engage as much as you can, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. There are different ways that you can engage. And a lot of it starts with the self, right? A lot of it starts with your practice, how you define, how you see where your purpose is in the whole kind of equation, right? I mean, I think we all have a specific calling, but the big thing is, man, I feel like this is my car and I feel like this is my wheelhouse, but how can I get better? So even for me, with all the sketching stuff that I enjoy doing, I admit I'm not perfect at this stuff, right? But I love doing it because one, it helps me to fine tune my skill set, whether it's just coming from the illustrative lens or perspective, or from the industrial design space or perspective. So you have to just keep pushing through, keep that determination. Again, take failure as a part of a process and not a moment that you have to get locked down in. Like I said, just take it as a stepping stone versus a stumbling block. And two, not being afraid to engage, right? Like, I know for you and I, we've been trying to link up for a few months now, and it's great that things worked out where now we can kind of exchange and share those stories, and I believe the general creative landscape should be like that, right? There should be that exchange. There should be the ability to openly speak about how we fail and how we use those kind of failure moments as in ingredients to thrive and to excel in whatever it is we want to do. So I know that's kind of a long answer to a short question, but but for me that's the driving force. And I mean, I think as a man of faith too, right? I think I realize that, man, we all have a purpose, man, you know what I mean? And I think you have to be able to really dig deep to engage with that purpose so that everything you do is not in vain. And at the end of the day, you're like, oh man, I meant to do that, right? That's part of my DNA, part of my fabric. So that's kind of long answer to that.
No, I appreciate your answer, man. I think a lot of what you said, applies to so much, outside of design and being a creative, just life in general. And I think it's great that you said all that, because a lot of us need to hear that. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, no
Um,
problem.
I know we don't have too much time, but my last question is this. What kind of personal projects or things would you like to do for the rest of the year?
For the rest of the year, whew, man, that's a good one, man. That's a good one. I think from kind of a personal standpoint and personal and kind of professional practice. Regarding the rest of the year, definitely I want to continue just developing that traditional skill set, hand to pen to paper kind of thing. And but more than anything else, I think the way how things are shifting right now and growing in terms of just the VR space, I would love to be able to explore a little bit of creativity in that kind of virtual reality, 2D, 3D type space. So, Gravity Sketch, for example, is a good one. There are certain other programs out there, especially 3D programs, that I'd love to kind of expand my bandwidth more by learning new soft goods programs, new, again, just general CAD programs, but also figuring out that balance, right? Not losing the traditional, but taking the digital and the new tech and whatever, and just kind of meshing that all together to tell the right story, right? Now, what else? I'd like to be healthy. I'd like, yeah, I'd like to be able to live another few years and all of that good stuff. I'd love to be able to just continue to engage with the rest of the world, with folks like you, and just learn, just learn and learn how to give back through this kind of space, right?
Right.
I think we all have the ability to create, but I believe it's how we use it, right? I believe it's, how can we use what we have, whether it's a sketch, whether you're a gardener, whether you're a musician or poet, how can you use all of that to create something that's meaningful and it helps us to build memories and have some good thoughtfulness behind it. And if we figure that stuff out, man, it's timeless, right?
That's right.
So yeah, so not only for me, I hope that for everybody too, you know what I mean?
For sure, man. Yeah, I appreciate your answers, man. I appreciate you, just being honest and open about these questions.
Sure, no problem. Anytime,
Yeah.
anytime.
But I'd appreciate your time, Deno. Thank you so much for joining me,
Oh
man.
yeah, anytime. Yeah, and let me know how things go, and we'll be in touch.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you, sir. Take
All right,
care.
sure, man. Thank you.